Welcome to The Explainer. Now, if you've walked into a cafe or, just scrolled through social media at all recently, you've absolutely seen it. That super vibrant, bright green drink that is basically taking over the wellness world right now. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the massive trend of matcha. We're going to break down the actual science behind it, we'll bust some pretty prevalent and frankly expensive marketing myths, and I'll give you the exact practical steps to mastering this incredible green drink right in your own kitchen.
Okay, so let's just dive right in by addressing the giant caffeinated elephant in the room, the burning question that is probably on every single coffee drinker's mind right now. Is matcha actually better than coffee? Like, why are so many busy professionals suddenly swapping out their beloved morning brew for this bright green powder? What's really going on biologically here, and, more importantly, is this a switch you should be making?
To answer that, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the great matcha versus coffee debate. Then we'll look at what matcha exactly is, dig into the science of calm energy, navigate through those tricky marketing myths, and finish up with how to prepare the absolute perfect cup.
All right, Section 1, the matcha versus coffee debate, the literal battle for your morning routine.
Now, if we look at the stark difference between the two, it's actually pretty fascinating. Coffee, with its higher caffeine spike, is a lot like a sharp lightning bolt. You know the exact feeling, right? It gives you that immediate, intense alertness, but it often comes with a pretty steep price tag. The jitters, a bit of restlessness, and of course, that absolute wall you hit during the dreaded afternoon crash. Matcha, on the flip side, is more like riding a gentle wave. It delivers this really steady, sustained energy. You get a calm focus and a beautifully balanced stimulation, entirely without that background anxiety.
But hey, we have to be realistic here. Even incredibly healthy beverages have their downsides if you overdo them. As you're kind of weighing your options, keep in mind that drinking way too much coffee can lead to some severe sleep issues and anxiety. Conversely, slamming excessive amounts of matcha means you're still consuming a ton of caffeine, which can actually cause some real digestive discomfort. So, like most things in life, true wellness is all about moderation, not taking things to the extreme.
Moving on to Section 2. Let's talk about what exactly matcha is, looking beyond just that vibrant green powder you see in the cup.
At its most basic fundamental level, matcha is a finely ground powder made from the whole green tea leaf. In fact, ma literally translates to powder and cha translates to tea. Powdered tea. While the practice actually originated in China, it was refined and elevated in Japanese tea ceremonies over centuries. And here's the absolute biggest difference between this and your standard green tea. You aren't just steeping leaves in hot water and then throwing those leaves in the trash. With matcha, you are actually consuming the entire leaf itself.
And making authentic matcha? That is a highly meticulous process. The real secret happens right at step 1, shading the leaves for a few weeks before they're harvested. This intentional shading forces the tea plant to basically panic and overproduce chlorophyll, which is exactly what gives matcha that iconic, almost neon green color, while also significantly reducing its natural bitterness. From there, only the fresh, young spring leaves are harvested. They're quickly steamed to stop any oxidation, carefully dried, and then painstakingly ground down into that incredibly fine powder.
Now, we really need to pause and bust a massive myth here. You'll often hear people say that matcha just tastes like, bitter seaweed or wet grass. But think about it this way. If you've only ever tasted one really bad, overly roasted, incredibly bitter cup of dark coffee, you wouldn't just assume all coffee everywhere tastes terrible, right? The exact same logic applies to matcha. High-quality matcha has this massive, complex flavor spectrum. It can be naturally sweet, nutty, floral, and even have these amazing notes of tropical fruit. So please, don't let one poorly made cup ruin the whole entire category for you.
Let's move into Section 3, the science of calm energy, and why this drink feels so fundamentally different to your nervous system than a cup of coffee. The secret behind all this is an amino acid called L-theanine. It is an absolute magic bullet. Now, yes, obviously, matcha contains caffeine, but it also contains this incredibly powerful naturally occurring compound, L-theanine. L-theanine literally physically interacts with the caffeine in your system. It actively offsets those negative, shaky jitters and instead promotes this wonderful state of calm, sustained alertness. It essentially takes that jagged caffeine spike and smooths it completely out, effectively eliminating the dreaded crash. It is a total game changer.
Plus, because you're consuming the entire leaf minus the tough stem and central vein, you are unlocking an absolute nutritional powerhouse. You're getting a massive, concentrated dose of antioxidants. Matcha is just incredibly rich in compounds called catechins, which are absolutely vital for healthy aging, and they do a fantastic job of protecting your body against the oxidative stress caused by just living in our modern environments.
All right, on to Section 4, navigating the marketing myths. This is crucial so you don't get fooled by fancy, expensive labels at the grocery store.
Honestly, this quote is going to completely change how you shop for this stuff. You are constantly going to see tins heavily branded as ceremonial grade, platinum, or AA supreme grade. But here's the somewhat shocking industry secret. There are literally zero universal objective standards for these grades. None. It is essentially just a marketing term invented to help sell tea. Now, broadly speaking, ceremonial is intended to be the stuff you whisk with water and drink straight, using the youngest leaves, while culinary is usually made from older leaves meant to be mixed into baked goods or smoothies. But because the terminology is completely unregulated, a highly trusted, reputable brand's culinary grade might actually taste significantly better than some shady random brand's supposedly premium ceremonial grade. You have to trust the brand itself, not just the flashy label on the tin.
So instead of relying on labels, you need to rely on your senses. First off, find a supplier you already know and trust. Second, buy small packages initially so you can taste widely without committing to a giant, expensive bag. Third, just use your eyes. Think about espresso. If there's no crema, it's a bad sign. With matcha, if the powder looks dull, yellowish, or, God forbid, brown, that is a massive red flag. It should literally be vibrantly, brightly green. And finally, always prioritize freshness for the best possible aroma and flavor.
Which brings us to our final section. Section 5, preparing the perfect cup. Let's get into a completely realistic guide for making this at home.
Listen, if you take only one single practical thing away from this entire explainer, please let it be this number right here, 75 degrees Celsius. Never, ever, under any circumstances, use boiling water to make matcha. If you use boiling water, you will instantly scorch that delicate powder, pull out all the harsh bitterness, and absolutely ruin the cup. Always keep your water temperature right between 70 and 75 degrees.
Next up, stop eyeballing your measurements. Using a little kitchen scale is the ultimate secret to getting a consistent, perfectly textured drink every single time you make it. The real sweet spot to start with is exactly 3 grams of sieved matcha powder mixed with 40 grams of that 70 to 75 degree water. Nailing this ratio gives you a fantastic, rich, intense base to build your drink from.
And here is your foolproof prep method. First, always sieve your powder into a dry bowl to prevent those nasty, bitter clumps. Then, add your precisely measured warm water. Now, if you have a traditional bamboo whisk, great. Whisk it vigorously in an M or W shape to fluff it up into a beautiful, frothy microfoam. But what if you don't have one? Realistically, don't sweat it. You can absolutely achieve fantastic results using a standard handheld milk frother, or frankly, just by sealing it in a jar and shaking it like crazy. Now, if you really want to level up and make a cafe-quality iced latte at home, oat milk is an incredibly fantastic pairing. But here is the ultimate pro tip. Do not just dump your syrup at the bottom of the glass. Mix your sweetener and your oat milk thoroughly together first. Then add your ice, and finally, gently pour your freshly whisked matcha right over the top. This gives you that stunning visual cascade, and more importantly, a perfectly balanced drink, instead of having the super bitter top and a sickly sweet bottom.
So, as we wrap up this masterclass today, I really want to leave you with this to consider for your own daily routine. Which energy source truly serves your focus the best? Are you going to take the leap and completely swap out your bold morning coffee? Or maybe you'll simply add a perfectly whisked, calming matcha ritual to your busy afternoons. The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Welcome to The Explainer. Now, if you've walked into a cafe